Importance of zero in mathematics. Okay, so zero means nothing. If I have uh, okay, if I have zero items, means I don't have anything. So zero means penniless. So actually, it's nothing. But what is the importance of zero, especially in vector science or algebra or calculus? So that we should see means zero can make someone's life very easy when he is kind of extending something. Okay, like if I have a like let's see calculus. So then we'll come to vector. Let's see there is an independent variable x and there is a function on x called fx, that is y. So y equal to fx. Now fx equal to mx. M is some constant. So y equal to fx equal to mx. So y equal to mx. If that is the scenario, then what it means? Y equal to mx. If I draw a line of y equal to mx, then m would come as slope, okay, gradient. So if this is the line along x-axis, then m is 1, means okay. So if x is 1, if x is 1, y is 1. If x is 2, then y is 2. X is 3, then y is 3. Okay, I mean, if it is flat line, then I believe there is no x at all. For every x, y is constant. If line is like this, okay, if x is 1, y is 1, x is 2, y is 2. If y equal to x, then hidden m is 1. Okay, so slope is 1. So probably it is 45 degree. Now if m is 2, 3, 4, 5, so that's way slope increasing. So if this is x-axis, this is y-axis, then line can be like this. Okay, so line can be like this. So as line slope is increasing, m is increasing. So y equal to mx. Now where is 0? There is no 0. Y equal to mx. Now let's introduce 0. Y minus 0, y minus 0 equal to m x minus 0. Y equal to mx, y minus 0 bracket equal to m braces x minus 0. Same thing. Okay, there is no difference. But if 0 comes into the picture, nothing comes for free. It has some importance. So what is the importance of 0 here? Y minus 0 equal to m x minus 0. It is same as y equal to mx. So if I say y equal to mx, I draw a line and say line has slope of m. But if I say y minus 0 equal to mx minus 0, then in significance y line intercept y axis at 0, line intercept x axis at 0. Okay, so 2 0 is changing the world now. So importance of 0. Now y minus 0 equal to mx minus 0. So if this is the line and this is the origin, then keeping x as 0, and if I shift the line up, it intersect y axis. So that intercept is y minus 0. So 0. Y equal to mx means y minus 0 equal to mx minus 0. It is intercepting y axis at 0. If I keep y at 0, then it is intercepting x axis at 0. But if I say y minus 2, now I am replacing 0 with 2. Y minus 2 equal to m x minus 0. This proves that when x is 0, it is intercepting y axis as 2, or y minus 0 equal to m x minus 2. It is intercepting x axis at 2. Y minus 2 equal to m x minus 3. Okay. Now someone can imagine that where it would intercept y-axis and where it would intercept x-axis. Okay. So bringing when we see something, any equation with variables, like we have variables like x, that is independent variable, and based upon x, y is dependent variable, then it is nice to introduce 0. If we introduce 0, then it leads to something. Now we can change. Now I said y minus 0 equal to m x minus 0. I would say y minus y0 equal to m x minus x0. If that is the case, then when y is 0, then it will intercept x at x0, and if x is 0, then it will intercept y-axis at y0. Okay, so we started without 0, we introduced 0. Now we see that 0 is not a fake guy. Okay, I can replace 0 with the intercept on the axis. I can say z minus z0 equal to y minus y0 m y minus y0 plus n x minus x0. Z minus z0 equal to y m into braces y minus y0 plus n braces x minus x0. Now this is equation of a line where the slope for the kind of along the y-axis is m, whereas with the variation of x it is n, and it intercepts z at z0, y at y0, and x at x0, provided other twos are 0. So this way we have now kind of equation of a plane. Someone can now interpret it as a line passing through a point also, or plane passing through a point also. So whatever it is. We started with without 0, so we can say z equal to my plus nx. But now I replace z with z minus 0, y minus 0, x minus 0. Now 0, considering a constant, then I replace with z0, y0 and x0. Then I saw that the line slopes are same, but it is intercepting the axes at some location. Now turn this calculus to vector. Okay, so if I say y equal to mx, so mx is nothing but a vector. Mx is a vector that is in x axis direction, and y is a vector that is in j direction. One is in I direction and one is in j direction. Okay, now I have a vector called v. Okay, so I have a vector, and that is v. If I have a vector and that is v, so can I say it is same as v minus 0? Earlier I said v is a vector. A person is standing on earth. A person is standing on earth. So in vector terminology, there is nothing scalar. If a vector has a magnitude and direction, if I just say a person is standing, means its speed is 0, and he is pointing towards I-axis, x-axis. A person is standing means a person cannot stand in sky. If he is standing on earth, certainly he has a direction. So in vector terminology, there is nothing called, means things should be changed in the books. So there is nothing called scalar. Okay, if I say a person is standing, means his speed is 0, but there is a direction. So he is 0 I. Okay, so he is facing the I direction, x-axis, and his velocity is 0. That's why he is standing. Now his person is standing. Let's suppose a person is v vector, means vi or vector v. So vector means it has a direction in the v direction and it has some magnitude. Okay, so now I can say that v vector is equivalent to v vector plus 0 or 0 I or whatever. So 0. How it turns the story? Earlier I was saying the person velocity is measured by v. A person is moving with v vector. V vector is nothing but 3I. So 3I means he is walking at a speed of 3 km per hour in the I direction, that is the V vector. Or if I say it is 2I plus 3j, then he is walking in a direction where the angle with the x-axis is tan inverse 2 by 3. So tan inverse 3 by 2. So if it 2I plus 3j, then tan inverse 3 by 2. So with that angle with the x-axis, that person is walking. So V vector, person has a V vector that may be 2I plus 3j, or plainly I can say 2I. Then person is walking in x direction, which magnitude 2. Okay, so person is walking at a speed with a vector v. If that is true, then person is walking with the vector v plus 0, v minus 0. I'm sorry, the way we did y minus 0 and x minus 0 in calculus. Now here I'll say v minus 0. What is 0? Okay, so a person earlier he was walking with v, means magnitude of v and direction in the v. Now he is walking with v plus v minus 0. Okay, now nothing is absolute in the world, everything is relative. So if person is walking with v, he is walking v means it is relative to ground or somewhere that is stationary. If he is walking with v minus 0, suppose person is walking at 5 kilometer per hour in the direction of x. So it is 5I. So V is 5I. Suddenly he is finding himself, okay, all around water. Okay, so he is finding himself inside a water. Okay. Now when he is walking on the feet, he is believing he is walking at 5 kilometer per hour. Now 5 is the V, V minus 0. So 5 is V. So he is working at V vector, that is equivalent to V minus 0. What is 0? V means his velocity respect to the ground. What is V minus 0? So 0 is the media, that is the water. So suddenly if he finds that he is walking inside, he is walking and all around it's water, means he is walking in a pond, then 0 is the velocity of water. Earlier, we just for enjoyment we introduced 0 and 0 become intercept. Here, for enjoyment I brought 0 and 0 become media. So v minus 0 is the relative velocity of the person with the water. V is the relative velocity of the person with the ground, means vector with the ground. But v minus 0 is the relative velocity of the person with the water, where water speed is 0. So the person v, if I say v is 5 kilometer per hour in the direction of x, and water is also moving 5 kilometer per hour in the direction of x. So v minus 0 turns into v minus 5. 5 minus 5, 0. So the person's velocity with relation to the ground is 5, but person velocity with relation to water under which he is walking, and water is also walking, which from his flow is 5 kilometer per hour in direction of x, both. Then when he is seeing the water, he is feeling still. He is not moving at all. So we introduced 0. Then we proved that 0 can be a measurement of the media. And now if I change the 0 to some value, then it becomes relative velocity. So if person velocity is v and water velocity is u, then person's relative velocity with the water is v minus u. How 0 brings now if someone, so relative velocity we understand, subtraction in the vector we understand in this fashion. Amazing. Otherwise we will bug up. If x plus y equal to z, then x is equal to z minus y, that is a vector. But what is minus? So minus is nothing but relative velocity. So if person is walking with a 5 kilometer per hour, okay, in x direction, and water is 5 kilometer per hour in minus x direction, then relative velocity of the person with respect to the water is 10. Person is when person look at his feet when he is walking, then he feels he is walking at 5 kilometers per hour. But if water is flowing opposite to it, and when he sees the water, then he is thinking that he is walking 10 kilometers per hour. It is something like someone is running on along. I mean, don't do this. But if a train is moving very slowly and he is running along the track of the train, when he sees the ground and when he sees the train, if train and person both are running at same speed, and when he sees the train, he feels it is static, nothing is moving. But if train is coming from opposite direction, I mean, he is running along the track, not on the track, and when he is seeing the train, then train he feels that he has increased his speed, though his speed relative to the ground is same. So that is importance of zero. Introduce zero and see the enjoyment. Okay, so if v is the vector, and if I introduce 0 and I subtract 0 from the vector, and I started increasing 0 with some magnitude, this is what is happening. Now think that a person is moving in some direction, 2i plus 3j. Okay, in a plane, on a plane he is moving with 2i plus 3j, and water is moving at alpha I plus beta j, in a direction of alpha I plus beta j. What would be the direction of a person, relative direction and magnitude of a person walking when he sees the water? So if it is 2 plus 3i and water is alpha plus beta j, then it is 2 minus alpha in x direction and 3 minus beta in y direction. So this is the actual direction what person is feeling when he is seeing only water. So things are changing. This is importance of zero. So whenever someone sees an equation, it is nice idea that variable should be replaced by, we can do minus zero. Now we can take it as positive also. So if person velocity is v and water velocity is u, then v minus u is the relative velocity of the person with respect to u. So relative velocity of v with respect to u. What about v plus u? What about v plus 0? Means water is flowing and it is imparting energy, its energy on human. So human is walking at 5 kilometers per hour. Water came along the way with a speed of 2 kilometers per hour. Plus means it imparted energy. In earlier situation, it did not impart the energy. But here it imparted the energy on the person, and person now 5 plus 2 he is walking at 7 kilometers per hour with respect to the ground. So plus if I do, then media is imparting energy on that person. So we start with a 0 plus 0 and then we can let it grow. Or if it is negative, then what is its means how 0 is changing, the interpretation of the 0 is changing. And negative means what is the relative velocity of that person with respect to the media. So initially with respect to the 0, then 0 we replace with the water, and then water started moving. Then what is the relative velocity of that person with respect to the water? So this is kind of story of 0. So 0 is, see, means if I say person is moving with kind of xi, yz, yj and zk direction, that is the vector, and there is another media that is alpha I, beta j and gamma k, then what is subtraction, what is related means person would hit head his wall. Either he would mug up the equation, otherwise he will understand very slowly or he won't understand. But if you start with the only person is in the world, and then with the 0 and then start moving, changing the 0 to the media, and then we see the relative velocity, and then we change the 0 to some constant and then finally to a vector, and then we see that how things change, and then we did with the minus 0, we can do plus 0 and then see how media assists the person in moving into the direction. So Please try with the we try with the calculus and vector, and it should be tried with the other measure in the mathematics, so that can be done.